And welcome in everybody to the Summit City Sports Report, where this week we're talking with Leo head coach Jason Doerffler, and we have Tim Atkinson joining us as well. But coach, coming up this week is your rivalry matchup with East Noble. I've been saying it, last couple of years, this game right here provides some of the most exciting football that you'll see in Northeast Indiana. And once again, coming in, they've only got one loss, but they're undefeated in conference. You're undefeated in conference. So this game right here will have huge implications on who becomes the NE8 championship, the champions. But coach, just your thoughts heading into this game Friday and this year's East Noble team.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned a lot of the things. We've told our team going into this game, every time we've played East Noble that I've been a part of it, it's been an absolute physical test, and it's usually comes down to the final drive and the last possession. And we've been fortunate last few times that we've come out on top, but they are games in which you really gain some respect for the opponent afterwards, and they're physical battles. I know last year we were like we said, fortunate to come out on top, but they could have easily gone the other way. And I know you got our schedule or results last year, but if you flip those East Noble results, we're looking at 7-4 seasons. So these are games that can make or break seasons, and our guys know that, and I think they know that, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And last year, obviously that win right there in the second round of sectionals, that was a huge win right there. And you guys end up going on to win a sectional championship for the first time in over 10 years. I believe it's the fourth sectional championship in the school's history, but it's been a while. There've been some very, very, very good Leo teams that have not won sectional championships. And you can see here in 2020, East Noble with a 10-0 victory to, end the season for Leo. But just how gratifying, how satisfying was that to kind of get the monkey off your back, if you will, last year and picking up that 31-13 sectional win against Dwenger?
Yeah, I mean, it was you really gain a lot of appreciation for how hard it is to win a sectional, and you had the results up there, I know, and I mean that was the fifth consecutive year, I believe, that Leo had played for the sectional final or in the sectional final, and just to accomplish that is a difficult task, and obviously a lot of the credit goes to Coach Souter and his staff and all that that had gotten there. And we were fortunate last year, and like I told you, the East Noble game in the sectional probably could have went either way. You just gain an appreciation of how hard it is to win 3 games and play well 3 weeks in a row. And some of the schools around the state and even in the area that win year after year, you really start thinking, how the heck do they do that every year? I mean, it's an impressive feat.
Well, Coach, I think part of the reason is they don't play in the toughest sectional as you guys do it year in, year out. I mean, your sectional is absolutely loaded each and every year, as Jeff's pulling it up right there. I mean, Dwenger, Wayne, Columbia City, DeKalb, Leo, East Noble, New Haven, Southside being competitive now. I mean, that every game that you're going to have to play in sectional is going to be a hard-earned win, which then makes it even more gratifying. But I think that's one of the reasons why there's been so many, because it's so hard to come out of that gauntlet.
Yeah, and even to your point, a few years ago, Leo was in with Northridge and Northwood and some of those NLC teams that are
right.
Very, very good football programs. So, that's a great point. And just our sectional this year, you're right in saying that there's no easy one. Obviously, the Sagarin ratings and those things will change, but I think it was one of our coaches pointed out last week that 5 of the members of our sectional were in the top 64 of the Sagarin ratings.
Yes.
And no other 8-team sectional in any class could say that.
Right.
Now, obviously, things will change as the season progresses, but there's no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of good football players. There's different styles that you have to defeat in that sectional, and it will without a doubt be a test.
And with the regional last year, I mean, taking the trip to Gas City and Mississinawa, where they absolutely pack in that stands.
Yeah.
They really have a love for their football squad out there, and what a dominating performance that was. We haven't had a chance to talk to you about it, but Jeff and I were there on the call, and that was one of the most dominating performances I've seen in a playoff run by any team. Caden Hurst, what a great game that he played. Foster, I mean, everybody had just played lights out in that ball game. Special teams, defense, offense. What was that like going to Gas City and really, really playing some of the best football you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, it was to play that well at that level of the tournament is rare.
Yeah,
you know, and it's to take nothing away from Mississinawa. They were undefeated. They beat a Kokomo team that had beaten us in week 1. So I mean, you know, we respected them, and we expected a very tough battle, and it was. I mean, we things went our way. You mentioned special teams. I think we returned the second half kickoff for a touchdown.
Yep.
And kind of gave any hopes of a comeback. You know, we kind of squashed that right away. And, you know, as always with us, it's going to start with our defense, and they played very, very well that night. And, you know, later in the year, last year, we were really, really good just in terms of execution on offense. We were able to run the ball when we wanted to and pick up first downs through the air. And, you know, we actually referenced that with our team this year. You know, in preparation for East Noble, we had watched a little bit of our film with them last year. And we said, you know, this is really, we're executing at a high level, you know, in that film. And if we can get there this year, you know, we're going to be tough to beat, but we got a long way to go to get to that level. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. And that's the tendency. You know, you're going to get better as the season goes on, and the more games you play, the better you look. And, you know, we were lucky and fortunate to play 14 games, and hopefully we can do that again.
Coach, going back to your point about the Sagarin ratings and how great that sectional is, do you think we're any closer to having a seeded sectional? You know, I know the coaches a lot of times feel like the fans do and think, hey, we could do a seeded sectional or a seeded playoffs with the Sagarin ratings. That would be a good measuring stick to do something like that. But have you heard any updates on that and think maybe it could be closer?
Yeah, in terms of how close we are, I'm not in a position to say. I mean, I think you're right, and a lot of coaches do support it. And, you know, I've kind of been on both sides of the fence. I think it is a good thing to reward teams with good regular seasons to maybe have a more advantageous draw. But, you know, I've been in other situations where we're banking on a really good draw, and we love the blind draw. You know,
right.
So
right.
I get both sides of it, and you know, it's a tough situation because you want the regular season to mean something and to matter, and it does. But you know, for teams to have a great regular season, you know, last year in our sectional, East Noble and New Haven played each other, and they both had great years, and one of them was done in week 10. So
right.
That's not always the best situation either.
You know, Coach, and one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, just because you grew up in Fort Wayne, played football at Concordia, so you're very ingrained in this scene. Can you remember a year when maybe the Fort Wayne area was not represented as well as it is in the top 10 list? I mean, we got Leo up here at number 6, but honestly, Coach, class by class, I think Lures is ranked in the top 10 too. We do not have many ranked teams in this area. It is good to see Columbia City here at number 9. And then you got East Noble at number 12. So I might flip flop those guys. But so, yeah, NE8 is represented well in Class 4A. But when you look at all the other classes, we're not seeing many teams this year. Do you feel like the Fort Wayne area is down, or is it that a lot of our talent is just young talent?
Yeah, I mean, I think history would say that we put a pretty good football product on in our area, and in terms of the rankings, the rankings are what they are. I mean, at the end of the day, it all works itself out. But I know playing some non-conference games from SAC schools probably weighs into some of those rankings and stuff like that. But I'm not in a position right now because I haven't seen everybody play. I really, we worry about who's next on our schedule. Sure. But for example, I haven't been able to see really any SAC schools play yet on tape. We played Bishop Luers week 1. We also haven't seen Columbia City on film yet. And, it's funny kind of how sometimes the schedule works. I feel like we see DeKalb every week. I think I've watched every one of DeKalb's games, but it's just how it works out, So I think to your question, those things will work themselves out. And Fort Wayne will always have good football because people care. And there's a lot of investment from, youth to high school, and there's a lot of good coaches. So, normally we perform pretty well in the postseason, and I would expect that again this year. And, it's a proven product over the years. So I would not say it's down necessarily.
I think you make a strong point with the 2 open weeks now at the beginning of the season. SAC teams have gone out and have scheduled about the toughest opponents they can find out there for sure.
Right.
Tim?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But you mentioned the youth. You guys are one of the few in Northeast Indiana that have an outstanding youth football program, and that Cub football program. I'm out there for soccer a lot of times. For broadcasts, and you got behind the field, you got to the side of the field, you got young players all over the place. Tell me what that means to the Leo Lion football, the progress of Leo and their football program with that club league.
Yeah. So our league, we call it Cub football or Leo Cub football, and it's now in its 26th year. Woo. So I know you guys know Coach Rohrbacher, who's now at Woodland. He started the league with his dad and some other coaches in 1999. And it's been an unbelievable thing. And if you look at the history of Leo football and really when Leo kind of started to turn the corner, it was when those first Cub football teams kind of got into the high school level. But it is an amazing setup. It involves a lot of people, a lot of volunteers.
Right.
And, we couldn't be, more blessed with the amount of people that invest, as you mentioned, all the time. I mean, there's teams that are practicing. They practice twice a week and play on Saturday. And what's cool about the Leo League is we play 5th and 6th grade together and 3rd and 4th grade together. And there's 4 teams in each league, but it's all Leo, so it's not, they're not playing the other conference opponents, which they will eventually play in the junior high level. But, it's cool because we get 4 Leo kids that are going to play quarterback and 8 kids that are going to carry the ball instead of if we kind of jumbled them all together with the 6th grade team. You're going to have 1 6th grade quarterback or whatnot. So a lot of them love to or begin to love the game of football. And, it's a great thing. There's no question about it.
And not only beginning to love the game of football, beginning to love Leo as a community and a high school. They also get to play on the turf at the football field, all that stuff together. I mean, as a 3rd grader, Jeff and I were stuck playing pal with people we had no idea who they were, these kids get to be around their peers and be on Leo's field with seeing people wearing the Leo gear, all that great brand recognition. I think it's huge for a program.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard there's a lot of trash talking on Fridays before the games on Saturday. But yeah, it's
the third grade trash talk.
Yeah.
Well, looking back at your regular season, Coach, you mentioned the opening win against Lures, very strong team, playing up in Class 3A this year with that success factor. But talk about ripping off some really good wins to start the season. And what's impressive are the numbers, scoring at a very high level and holding teams as well defensively. I think, just one team has scored 17 points. The other three, just 13 points. What a well-rounded group you must have with Lure, Angola, Norwell, New Haven, all 20-plus games, and then keeping them 17 under. That's got to be pretty special for you to start the season.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it earlier. It's always going to start with our defense and our offensive line. So we've been happy and very pleased with our defense. We kind of knew going in that was going to be one of our strengths, and they've played very, very well. And our defensive front specifically has been able to take control of the line of scrimmage in pretty much every game. So it is very, very helpful when and you have confidence that we're going to be able to stop the run, and we're going to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. One area that we have been pretty pleased with also is our offensive line. That was kind of a question mark going in, but they've adapted well, and they're going to have a huge test in East Noble. I mean, they are the most physical team we're going to play, and that's been the case in years past. But yeah, I mean, to your point, we've complemented each other well, and we've made some big plays in the return game and kicking game. So it's been good so far.
Yeah, looking at that offensive line, I mean, do you put a lot on that? It looks like, just looking at your two deep here, 3 seniors, 2 juniors.
Yeah.
Do you put a lot in that? Are they leading the squad, vocally or just by play?
Yeah, and you mentioned our seniors. Starts with our center, Josiah Reynolds. He's a new starter, but he makes a lot of our line calls, and he's been done a really good job so far. Dionysius is our left guard, and he's also a new starter who's adapted well. Crew Kaler is our right guard, and he I don't know if you have the roster listed, but or, the heights and weights, but I think he's listed as at 5'7", and
5'8", 170.
5'8" generous, but he is an excellent football player. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, he understands angles. He uses his leverage, and he is a really good player, despite not having great size. And he's kind of the heart and soul of our offensive line, and he's been an excellent senior leader for us.
And a solid name, Crew Kaler. I mean, that's outstanding.
It's a football name.
That's right.
Coach, speaking of this offensive and defensive line, I mean, the defensive line is absolutely scary. When you look at Brock Schott, 6'4", 225, Tristan Roberts, 6'4", 285, and then one of those offensive linemen going both ways is Isaiah Kuhlman, and he's only a junior at 6'2", 275. Coach, that might be the biggest defensive line in Northeast Indiana.
Yeah, and it might be, and not just are they big, but they're good athletes, and they play with high motors. I know everybody knows about Brock, and he plays incredibly hard. And it's one thing to have the talent that he has, but he is our hardest worker in our program, and he never takes a play off. And he's got to play offense. He's got to play defense. He's on a couple of our special teams. but he plays hard, and he is very disruptive on defense. Tristan and Isaiah and Rashad Martin, our other defensive end, has played well. So that, as I mentioned, it makes things easier on everybody when you can kind of control the line of scrimmage on defense. And hopefully, like I said, tomorrow will be our toughest test, and hopefully they come to play.
Yeah, Coach, 3 of your top 6 tacklers are defensive linemen. So that bodes very, very well for the Leo Lions. It basically means that they're holding the offensive backs from getting to the second or third level. That's great. That's outstanding. And also your defensive backfield, they are ball hawks. Like, you can move Landon Hepner from a cornerback position to a safety. So now you have one of the faster safeties that you're going to find. And the one player I would say that really stood out to me, because we know Landon Hepner and Brock Schott, Jared Jasper, but Brett Sauter is quietly putting together an MVP type year, the sophomore linebacker who leads your team with 22 tackles, but also has 3 interceptions, and he's a second level player.
Yeah. And he's returned 2 of those for touchdowns. So 2 weeks in a row, he returned 1 against Norwell and 1 against New Haven. So if he could do the hat trick, it would be outstanding. Hopefully he's got 1 more in him. But he's stepped up as a sophomore, and he's playing great, and he's got a bright future. There's no question. And he's the son of a coach. He's Coach Sauter's son, yes. Along with his brother Drew, who's a senior for us. And they're great football players, but they're also great students, and they're great high character guys, and just people you would want your football program. So I can't say enough good things about Brett and Drew and all those guys. So we were very happy to see his success so far.
Yeah. And you mentioned Brock Schott, Coach. I had all day I was thinking, with Brock Schott, do you guys worry about playing him too much too early on both sides of the ball, trying to keep him fresh for a playoff run? Is that in the mind of you and your staff?
Yeah. And if it were up to Brock, he would never come out.
Right.
And we have tried. And we're kind of in the same boat with Landon, because he never comes off the field either, to give those guys breathers. And we are starting to get a little bit healthier. We've had some injuries, early in the season, and even back into the summer, to where we are able to do more of that. But yeah, that's absolutely a concern, because those guys, they're not going to not play hard, which is a good thing. But if we want to make another long run, and they got to be healthy. So it's a fine line, and luckily with, as you mentioned, our youth program and our junior high program, we've got a lot of good football players. So we're able to sub in and not really miss much of a beat. They're not going to play all like Brock Schott, but they're serviceable football players. There's no doubt. So, that's definitely something that we try to do. In games that we fully expect to go down to the wire, like tomorrow night, it doesn't help that it's going to be hot for us, because Brock and Landon and Kellen Holbert's another 2-way guy. Isaiah Coleman, you mentioned, they're going to have to be, they're going to have to play like animals tomorrow night. And it's going to be tough.
Coach, talking about Landon and Brock, I mean, do they lead like they do on Friday nights? Do they lead that way in the off season too, as far as in the weight room and conditioning and all that? Because both of them are physical specimens. When you talk about Landon Hepner, literally is one of the fastest players in Northern Indiana, and Brock, I mean, you see him in a basketball uniform, his traps are almost going to eat his head. Brock is one of the more impressive high school football players as far as physically is concerned since Mason Sharon, the running back from Leo. I mean, he was another one that was just built like a Mack truck. But I'm assuming it doesn't come by accident that these guys are able to do what they do in the starts in the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned them working hard and stuff like that, and they are those guys you mentioned. They're great kids. I mean, they do everything right. They're straight A students, and they work their butts off on and off the field and in the weight room, and obviously it shows. And we are fortunate in our building in all of East Allen County schools to have Parkview Sports Medicine partnership, and a lot of these kids are in the strength class during the school day. And we have a strength coach that works with them every day, and Coach Goebel, and he does an outstanding job. And it's a credit to all of those things, but mostly to our individuals and their willingness to put in the work and put in the time and make themselves better throughout the season. We haven't, we go from November to August without playing a football game, but a lot of our guys became a lot better football players by what they do in the off season. And a lot of it's on their own. They're getting stronger. Obviously we offer weights, but they're doing it on their own as well. They're training at different facilities, and it's a credit to them and the work that they put in individually, and it obviously helps us and makes us a better team.
Coach, just talk about that a little bit. OPS has been around training guys, Traction AP, AWP before that. And I know at the beginning, some coaches didn't like it because they felt like all the training should be in-house. But I feel like, over 10 years has passed since all that has started. Good or bad, all the extra training out there?
It would be dumb of me to say it's bad because, I mean, like I just mentioned, those guys, our guys, go to them to get better, and they do a great job, and they come back to us better football players. So, yes. They're faster, they're stronger, they're more explosive. And in some cases, they do a lot of football. They become better students of the game. And, selfishly, I would love to do all that stuff, but I don't have the time. And,
right.
I got, 3 kids at home that need some attention as well. So
yes,
there's no doubt that helps us as football coaches when they come back to us as all the time that they invest and those organizations do a great job making those guys better. No question.
Yeah, and Coach, before we move to Friday's game and get a little in depth on that, just want to talk about your offensive backfield as well. And is Guerra really stepping into the fold, putting up really good numbers, controlling the team and the tempo, and Nathan Foster really having some pretty good numbers through 4 games. Talk about them a little bit and how much they mean to the success of this offense.
Yeah, they're both juniors, and they've done, kind of the route of playing freshman ball and then JV last year and really stepping into the fold this year. So Grayson's done a good job. He's a guy that doesn't have a whole lot of in-game experience, but he has really stepped up, and he's got a tremendous arm. And we kind of knew maybe coming into this year, with Kyler having started 2 years, it would be a little bit of a challenge, but Grayson's done an excellent job. He is gaining a very good understanding of what we're trying to do and where we're trying to attack. And he throws a really, really good football, and he's only going to get better. He's young. He's a young junior. He could almost be a sophomore, but he's come a long way, and like I said, he's only going to get better. And Nate Foster is a kid that if we can keep him healthy, which we have done so far, he's just an explosive athlete, and I think you can see on some of his highlights or touchdown runs, he has the ability to make people miss. He has the ability to run past people, and he's also not afraid to run through people. And he's on the verge of becoming a really, really good running back. And he's a kid that lost his freshman season to a knee injury, and part of his sophomore season to a shoulder injury. So we weren't, we knew Nate was good. I don't know if we knew how good he could be, and he showed a lot of positive things the first 4 weeks, and we're hoping that it definitely continues.
Coach, looking at Grayson, in that very first game against Bishop Luers, you would probably think, with Bishop Luers returning defensive backfield, that the one team that threw the 3 interceptions would probably have been Leo, but instead it was Bishop Luers that threw the 3 interceptions. Can you just take us through that specific game for Grayson, and just how did things slow down for him? It seems like he was really able to control the offense, and obviously he didn't ask too much of him.
Yeah, we received the opening kickoff in that game, and we were able to march down the field and score right away. And it was about as good of an opening drive as you could have asked for. And then he continued that good play throughout the first half. And then we kind of hit a lull in the third quarter and started the fourth quarter, where we had a couple 3-and-outs and just weren't necessarily getting it done. I know the numbers are there. I think we had at one point 10 straight incompletions, and it wasn't necessarily Grayson's fault. Some of them were breakdowns in protection, and he kind of threw them away. We had a couple drops. But he was able to step up on a 4th down on that final drive and throw a perfect pass. And, that shows some maturity. It shows some toughness. And, it was great to see for a young guy making his first start and in a tough environment playing against a defending state champion. So there's no question. And he's talented, and I don't say this in a negative way, because Kyler Decker had an outstanding career and an outstanding 2 years at Leo playing football. I think last year he finished the year 26 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and kind of a confidence builder for Grayson. And Kyler would say this also. But Grayson's got more arm talent than Kyler ever did. And, if he can lead the way Kyler did, and if he can, run the offense and get the ball to the playmakers on time, like we try to, he's going to have an outstanding season and an outstanding career. There's no question.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Kyler Decker, because yes, his last season was very, very special, but really his whole career over there at Leo. And I had a chance to talk with Kyler, and he really attributed the film sessions that you and him would have, just studying tape on Huddle and all that stuff. And he said really going into his senior year is when he started mastering stuff like that, which really slowed down the game for him and allowed him to have the kind of numbers that he did have his senior year. As you said, 2,240 yards, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That not many high school football players get to tote those kind of numbers. But are you starting to see that from Grayson? I mean, does he like the film room and like to watch himself and evaluate himself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of us, Kyler, Grayson, and then Titus Stoller, who's a really good quarterback as well. We would do it every Wednesday before school, and we would just kind of go through the season and watch our opponents or our games from last year in the wintertime and springtime. And it's a credit to those guys, because they want to learn. They're sponges, man. They want to get better. And we just sit there and kind of watch together, and we question why Coach Doerffler called that play at that time. That was not very smart, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, they're great, and Kyler, to his credit, he made himself into a great quarterback. He struggled a little bit his junior year. We had a game early in the year, his junior year against Norwell when they had a really, really good team. We lost 27-0 at home. And I think he threw 4 interceptions. But from that game on, you couldn't play quarterback much better than what he did over the next year and a half. And what was best about Kyler was he was a tough kid, man. He was not afraid to tuck it and run, and he wasn't going to run out of bounds. There's no sliding in Kyler Decker's game. He was hunting DBs, and oftentimes he would get pounded, but he'd get right back up. So.
He was a pretty stout quarterback, and to your point, Coach, it just says it right here. I mean, you guys are a blocked PAT away from winning this sectional at Columbia City, but the previous meeting you lost by 2 touchdowns, so it's just it kind of bodes to your point.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting, and each class has their ups and downs, but that was a very, very tough loss, but that really kind of set the tone for our 2023 season. And, guys were eager to get back to that sectional title game and then finish the job. And, they were able to. And, that's, I guess, the challenge for this year's team is, you got to stay hungry and you got to stay with the chip on your shoulder. And however you do that, or however you create that, that's up to you. But, tomorrow will be a huge test in determining the path of our season.
Yeah. Speaking of tomorrow night, we had our play-by-play guys on Monday night for our little roundtable discussion. And I mentioned that the fire marshal's got to be out there at Leo with this ticker, because I can imagine it's going to be one of the most explosive atmospheres that we've seen in Northeast Indiana. How do you talk about that all with your kids? Do you in practice, do you pump in any noise or anything like that? Do you just not even and go with that and work on your game plan?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't pump in noise or anything like that, but we do know that it's going to be a full house. I know we mentioned our youth league earlier, and we are recognizing the whole Cub football league. So there's going to be a bunch of little kids yelling and screaming and all that stuff.
Right.
But to your point, I mean, our community at Leo, they come out almost every home game, and it's a great atmosphere. We told them last home game, how lucky they are, because it's not like this in all places. And we only get this year guaranteed 4 home games. So, we played Norwell at home. We're playing East Noble in a huge game. And then there's homecoming and there's senior night. Yeah. And then, whatever the sectional is. So, to really appreciate the home environment and just really enjoy it. Sometimes we can put, too much pressure on these guys, or, they lose sight of the fact that it's a game that they're playing with their friends in an educational setting. So, that's supposed to be fun. So go out and enjoy it and have fun. And you do that by really competing.
Speaking of, Coach, coming from Northrop, where, lately the stands aren't as full. We'll just say that. I was at Northrop this past Friday. But, Concordia, where you played ball at, they always have a good following. Leo, that following there is as good as you're going to find. No matter what your record is, the stands are going to be packed. It's like that at Woodland. I was out there for the Heritage game. The stands were packed. Boy, night and day difference for you as a head coach. How much do you appreciate just all the fans in the stands and just the game day atmosphere as opposed to what some of those Friday nights at Spooler were?
Yeah. Well, to answer that question, sometimes it depends on how the game's going. Because,
sure.
sometimes, but joking aside, it's a tremendous community, and they love football, and they're there every Friday night when we're at home, and they travel well, and it's a blessing. There's no question about it, and the support from the high school level down to the youth league. And I mentioned, the number of people that it requires to run a league like that. For example, you got to have, volunteer coaches, and, we have 4 teams in each division. And so now you're looking at, 12 to 16 guys that are giving up 2 nights a week and Saturdays to coach. And I think that kind of plays into, everybody supporting it, because it takes a lot of people, and we're fortunate that people step up and help out, and they come out and support. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and looking at that opponent come this Friday night, atmosphere aside, everybody knows it's going to be hype. Get there early. There ain't no question about that. Get there early. But this is a very talented offense that you're running against in Coach Stewart's first year, taking over for Coach Amsted's. Biddle and Krell, you guys know about them. 2 outstanding players, great Indiana high school football players. What's the, not without giving too much of a game plan away, what's your thoughts on those 2?
Yeah, I mean, they're very good. There's no question. And, they have a system that they've played for years and years and years. And it's built on being physical and dominating at the line of scrimmage. And really it's just a mentality that they have, injected throughout their entire program, back through Coach Amstutz and now Coach Stewart. And, you play East Noble in junior high, you play them at freshman, JV, it's going to be a lot of pads popping. There's going to be a lot of hitting. And, they do that on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. So, their running back, Crail, he's been around for, I think, 3 years now. We've had to face him. And
feels like 6.
Yeah, he's a load. I mean, there's no doubt. He is a guy that I wouldn't necessarily want to tackle, but it's going to require our whole defense to gang tackle, and the quarterback, Biddle, he's a great athlete. He can run. There's some design runs that they have for him, but he also has the ability to make a play when the play breaks down, and that's dangerous. And he's got a great arm. It's going to be a tremendous test. There's no doubt. And they're, motivated. They've lost a couple in a row to us, and it's, this has been the one that they've circled, and we have to be able to match that intensity and exceed it, because we got a lot to prove ourselves.
Yeah, and they're willing to throw the ball this year, Coach, with Trish and Swagger, and they'll throw it around. They will mix it up. So it's kind of, what do we do? Do we load the box? Do we bring in an extra DB at times? It's got to be a tough one to game plan for.
No doubt, and they're always able. Even going back with Coach Amstutz, he did a great job of being able to run the ball and then play action pass off of that. And they are well coached. They're a disciplined football team. They're not going to hurt themselves. They're not going to make mistakes. They're not going to penalize themselves very often. You got to be really, really good. And that's what I've really grown to respect about them. Everything, special teams, offense, defense. If you have a deficiency, they're going to be able to find it and exploit it. And if you want to beat them, you better get it fixed quick.
Right.
And Coach, going up against that offense, I feel like throughout the years, East Noble's offense does more with motion and misdirection. It just seems like there's a lot of things happening pre-snap Do you have to spend extra time with your defense because of some of the complicated things that they've used in the past with their offense?
Yeah, we have our defensive system that we play that should be able to be played against really any offense. Then you obviously tweak it and stuff like that. But you know that's definitely true. But to our conference's credit and our schedule, we get to see kind of a good variety of different offenses, and that's good because you can see, you get exposed to a lot more, and it prepares you for the postseason, and it prepares you for games like tomorrow night. And it's not everybody's running the same stuff, so that's good.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Coach, this one right here, you'd said it the last time Leo lost in this game was 2020. And the Sagarin ratings has East Noble as a 31-21 favorite. So always kind of fun to look at all those things. None of that really matters until Friday night. But Coach, if you had to pick one guy from Leo on the offense that had to have his best game that you feel like can help aid in the team's success, if you had to pick one on the offensive side and one on the defensive side, who would you choose?
Well, I might cheat here a little bit, but I would say our offensive line in terms of offensive performer. And, not to single anybody out, but our center, Josiah, is going to have a tough assignment because of all the different fronts that East Noble can play. And they like to mix it up, and they'll shift late and stuff like that. So he's going to make a lot of those calls. And he's well prepped, he's well prepared, and he'll do a great job. But not to take the easy way out of that question, but if we want to win football games and at any level, you're going to have to play great along the offensive line, and you're going to have to play great defense. And so our offensive line is going to be critical tomorrow night. And obviously we're going to have to make plays with our skill guys when plays present themselves, but it all starts up front. There's no question about that. Defensively, I think matching their physicality is going to be the important thing. And in order to do that, our defensive front's going to have to do a great job. But one guy that we haven't mentioned is Hayden Cooey at Mike linebacker. And he's kind of been the leader of our defense. He's the one that calls out our strengths and gets everybody in the right position. And he's had a good start to his senior year, and he's going to have to play well tomorrow night.
He's a big boy at 6'2", 175.
Yeah, he's another guy that's really invested a lot in the weight room, and it's definitely paying off his senior year.
Well, I love that you said the offensive line, because if there's one thing that East Noble's been able to do this year, it's been shut down the other team's run game. And that's exactly what I pointed to, Coach. I thought that Nathan Foster is going to have what has been a normal game for him thus far this season, but that's going to have to continue against East Noble. So I agree with that 100%. Tim?
Yeah, I completely agree with that 100%. The other thing is, what is it, to get off the subject real quick, because it just jumped back to my mind. What does it mean to your other kids to have a Brock Schott and a Landon Hepner as leaders on your team? Two D1 kids, of course, Brock going down to Miami, and Hepner going to Army. What does that do for your program in general and the rest of the kids?
Yeah, I think it elevates it. It gets more eyes to our program and more attention. And everybody, I was the same way, and everybody that plays football, they want to make it to the highest level. But the truth and the fact is, not very many people are going to be able to play at the Division I level. And there's a lot of different ways to say this, but there's there's a saying or a philosophy of to whom is given much, much will be expected. And Brock and Landon have been given tremendous talent and tremendous abilities, and they do a lot with those gifts, and they don't take it for granted. They take those gifts and they make them better. So, two great examples, and we're not all going to have 4.4 speed like Landon Hepner, but we can do something, and
Right.
we can make ourselves better and our teams better with whatever we have or whatever we can contribute. But that lesson is exemplified in those two just because of their talent. But
Right.
It's great. It's a great way to think of things in different perspectives, and it's not just athletics. That can be applied to a lot of things.
Yeah, because we are talking about teenagers. I mean, you have freshmen come in sometime as young as 14 years old, coming into high school, and to have those leaders already in your program. And then, of course, with the social media and what you see Brock Schott put out on social media with him lifting with his dad and that sort of thing on his own free time. I mean, that to me, that's a program type of changing player that can really elevate it even to the next level.
I will say, obviously, there's a lot of positives, but I did hear this the other day, and I don't know, it might have been the truth being stretched, but apparently the rumor was that one kid didn't come out for football because he didn't want to go against Brock every day in practice. So it's not all,
Yeah,
the one drawback.
That might be a kid that you don't want when the game's on the line in the fourth quarter.
Anyway.
Right.
And what a lot of the kids need to realize is, with those two being blessed with, let's just say, D1 God-given ability, it's the work that they put in to put them in that position, where a kid that maybe not even have his, on the scale of playing college football, was seeing that work ethic and transforming their body and watching that work ethic could change them, turn them into an NAIA player. But now you're looking at a free scholarship and free college. I mean, to me, those are the kids. Those D1 kids are the 1%ers that are coming out of this area. It's those kids that can be from non-college football to NAIA or NAIA to D2, D2 to D3. It's that sort of jump, and they can see that with the example of those two players.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, Coach, the question that's on everybody's mind is it going to be a Brock Schott lateral to Landon Hepner for a touchdown? Is it going to be Luke Tackwell with the toss back to Brock? I mean, because we've seen it 2 years in a row, right? The old hook and ladder. What game is it going to be this year?
We practice some of those trick plays, and usually you only get to use them once a year. So,
right.
When the time is right, I guess it will come out. But
just look up at me in the stands, and I'll give you the nod.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it'll be a full press box up there with Jeff and I sitting up there front and center.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Tim, do you have anything else for Coach before we let him go?
No, Coach. Is there anything that we didn't get to that you'd like to add before we let you go?
No. I mean, I know our kids are very excited. It doesn't get much better than Leo and East Noble, and just two really good teams and two good programs going at each other, and schools and communities that really care about football. So it'll be a whole lot of fun tomorrow night, no question.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
And you guys have taken this rivalry. I mean, as somebody that's been covering Dwenger Snyder my whole life or been a part of it, this has that type of feel.
Yes.
Big time rivalry game.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Big time athletes. So, Coach, good luck tomorrow. We wish you all the best in that great matchup. 7 o'clock at Lions Field, East Noble coming into Leo. So good luck to you, Coach.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was head coach Jason Doerffler. And Tim, this is going to be a fun game. We'll both be there. I said, in this game, you have your game-changing players, okay?
Right.
Landon Hepner, Brock Schott, everybody knows. Dylan Krell, we've been screaming his name so loud the last 2 or year and a half that people know who Dylan Krell is now. Those are game-changing players. There's going to be two guys that are going to have to step up for each team outside of those three.
Yeah.
I feel like Biddle has to have his best game of the season for East Noble to have a chance.
Yeah, no, see, yeah, and I kind of was the opposite of that Sager, and I definitely think it's way closer. It was going to be a way closer game than that.
Couldn't agree with you more, Tim. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know where that, the formula of that is. I mean, and not only that, 31 points. I mean, that's optimistic as well. At least the way that Leo's defense has been playing. Not to take anything away from East Noble, a very good offense. Don't get me wrong.
Giving up 14 points a game.
Right. And within that atmosphere, it's going to be 90, 92 degrees at kickoff. It's going to be a hot one. I'm glad that air conditioner works in the press box at Leo. But it is going to be a dynamite. But you're talking about when two teams like this play, it's not normally the normal player you expect that will have a breakout game. Is it going to be Foster? Is it going to be Esguera? Is it going to be Thrash, wide receiver for East Noble? If he can get over 100 yards receiving, I think it's going to be one of those non-Brock shot Landon Hepner, non-Biddle type of player that's going to really put their stamp on this game. Maybe not say they're the best player walking out of that, but they made a play here or a play there that changed the game, and we'll look back at it like that.
Yeah, no, I agree, because when you look at Swagger and Mason Treesh and Logan Hatton, you've got three dynamic wide receivers right there. And once again, if Biddle can get him the ball, remember, this is a Leo Lion defense that produced 3 interceptions in week 1 against Bishop Lures that really kept them, winning that game. They only won it by 3 points. So Biddle's got the playmakers for sure, and Krell's going to get his. He comes in averaging 9.1 yards a carry. Everybody knows when he's back there, he's getting the ball. They got to stop him. They just can't.
Right.
But Tim, that Leo defensive line, I went over their numbers earlier, just beastly. You look at Brock Schott, 6'4", 225, you think, well, man, he's the small guy out of the rest of those guys. And that's certainly not the case. Another guy is Rashad Martin, a senior at 6 foot, 195. He's got 3 tackles for a loss and a sack on the season. I mean, the defensive front four, Tim, all with double-digit tackles. I don't think I've ever seen that through 4 games.
No, I mean, you can't ask for a better stat as a defensive coordinator or a head coach. Just like what you said to Coach Hepner, or Coach Doerffler, is that means that there ain't a lot of times that they're getting to the second level,
or
the opposing run game. If they're not getting to the second level, then you're not breaking tackles to break out those 40, 50-yard runs that really can get your offense going. I mean, that is probably the most impressive stat, just off the top of my head, that I've seen in football over the past couple of years. I mean, that is one heck of a statement for Schott, Roberts, Kuhlman, and Martin, really taking care of business. Then you add in Cooey and Sauter and Jasper. We know about Jasper. We've seen the numbers for Sauter. Coach mentioned Cooey, and then of course Landon Hepner in at safety with Keller. The other thing is, these are it's all mostly juniors and seniors besides Sauter on that defense. I think that is huge in a rivalry game like this, where maybe a sophomore or a junior that doesn't play a lot can lose their cool or lose their temper in a game like this if something doesn't go their way or hang their head. I don't think you're going to see that out of Coach Doerffler's defense at all. This is a senior-laden group, really, even on the offensive side of the ball, Jeff. I mean, they're too deep. They only have one non-junior or senior, and that's Brett Sauter, who's the son of legendary Coach Sauter, and which Coach Doerffler had nothing but high praise for. So, I mean, that's a recipe for something special.
Yeah, if they do get to that third level, they got to meet up with a guy like Jackson Keller, the strong safety at 6'2", 215. So think about that.
That big.
You're escaping the grasp of a Brock Schott, and then you got Jackson Keller barreling down on you.
Right.
That's one of the reasons he's got one of the forced fumbles on the team. But you look at Shot here, Tim, everybody's like, what's wrong with Brock? He had 4 sacks in week 1, only 1 in week 2. Well, you got to remember, folks, in week 3 and week 4, they were able to rest the starters a little bit.
Right.
Leo. And also another thing is maybe they weren't showing as much on defense because they don't want East Noble to see maybe what they have in store for the Knights this Friday night.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to ask Coach Doerffler about that was, how fine of a line is it to, playing Brock, playing both lines is, a tight end blocking and receiving, and then a defensive end. That's extremely difficult to do and to stay fresh. I'm sure all of his weight training and, all that plays a big part into his success. But yeah, that's why I wanted to ask him. And we didn't watch a lot of film on these, saw a little bit of the New Haven, but, they're picking and choosing in those week 2, 3, and 4 on where to play Brock and when to play him on defense, because, we saw it all year last year. You got to bring a guard and a tackle. And sometimes you also need to have a running back or a tight end to chip before he goes on a route to slow down Brock, because if he can get his arms out and pressed up on a chest of an offensive lineman,
you're done.
Good luck trying to keep him out of the backfield.
You'll be on ice skates.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And he's got skill as well. He'll do a spin move, a little swim. He's a very skilled defensive lineman. It's, to me, he could be a D1 defensive end as well. It's just so happens he's got that prototypical NFL D1 type of tight end body, and the size with him. He's an impressive player. There's no doubt. He's one of the generational there for Leo's program for sure.
Yeah, Tim, I will want to say, Colin Butler, starting offensive lineman over at the University of St. Francis, and they had
rest
a
in
nice
peace to his father, Colin.
Oh, no doubt. To Corey. Yeah, we used to see Corey all the time at the Friday night, so rest in heaven for sure. The only reason I brought this up right here was Colin and the Cougars came back being down 21-0 and pulling off the 64-36 victory. But the offensive line looked really strong, and you can see their top running back averaging 8.6 yards per carry. So just wanted to give a shout out to Colin Butler and the Cougars. Hopefully they can pick up another win this Saturday. But Tim, it's just nice, Northeast Indiana, great football area, but we also have great college football that you can go see on Saturdays.
Yeah. So
at Bishop Darcy Stadium, 1 p.m. It's good to see the Cougars. They got a 1-1 record right now.
Yeah, I mean, the recruiting the city hard. You saw Bodie Dickerson, the old quarterback for Northside, out there receiving the ball, had a sweet catch.
Great touchdown.
And a touchdown catch I saw in the highlights.
Tim, I told Coach, I said, listen, Bodie Dickerson should not leave the field. The only time he should leave the field is on defense.
Yeah, he can play anywhere.
I would have him on punt return, on punt, on kickoff return, on kickoff.
Yeah,
I'd put him everywhere.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Looked the role. He was. Remember how big and strong his legs were in high school.
Right.
He's 6'3", close to 6'4". He's big. On that NAIA field, he's bigger than everybody else.
He may be taller than that, Jeff. I think he's more like 6'5". I look up to him when
strong.
Yeah, very, very, very strong kid. But yeah, it's going back to Friday. I just, these types of games, you know how it is, Jeff. It is, it's one of the reasons why we do it and love it and have been doing it for so long. The excitement that you and I had since we knew we could do this game together. The schedule worked out for us to do that. We've had enough guys to work our other games so we could tag team this game. This is
barely
right. Yeah, very.
With basement hockey starting up, it was not easy.
Right. But as much as we get up for it, imagine the players and the excitement even when they're going to bed tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I've been looking forward to this game since we knew we were going to do it together. It is, it's one of those games you look forward to consistently year in and year out with East Noble and Leo, and it hasn't disappointed. There's been a lot of ups and downs throughout each game, roller coaster, change of momentums, high emotion. It's exciting to be out at Leo Stadium this coming Friday night for sure, and it's going to be a great atmosphere.
Well, and this actually surprised me when I saw it, and you're 100% right, Tim. The atmosphere is going to be second to none.
Yeah.
Leo leads the series 9-6. See, when we first started getting into this series, East Noble was dominating.
Right.
So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight wins for Leo. Okay, and then here Leo gets the win, but East Noble got him in sectional. But from 19, you can see East Noble. So that's 4 straight wins, or 3 straight wins for East Noble. So it is truly a great rivalry game. As you can see, it just goes back and forth, back and forth. In 2014, they didn't even play each other. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. And it's no accident that these teams in high schools have progressed over the years with the East Noble youth football program up there in Kendallville, and then what we talked about with Coach Doerffler and the Cub football. It is mandatory nowadays. You have to get in with the youth as early as third grade and really, get them to love your school. Get them to buy in to the purple and the black or the blue and the yellow up in Kendallville.
And talk to Brock Rohrbacher about this a little bit. It's something Woodland's missing.
Right.
It's something New Haven's missing. I mean, you look at all the success that Carroll youth football is having, and then Homestead doesn't have anything like that.
Right.
It's a little bit of a head scratcher because 100%, Tim, these county schools have all the advantage now. Just because, Jake Smith is a part of the youth football that feeds into Columbia City high school, from the Pee-wees to the middle school. Columbia City and Coach Fox, they run all that.
Right.
And that's huge, and you're 100%. And honestly, Tim, it is probably one of the key factors that made Dwenger as great as it has been, because we all know Bishop Dwenger is one of the great football programs in the state of Indiana. But it was all the CYO kids, the St. Charles from 5th grade, and now it even starts earlier. But those kids feeding into Dwenger, and that was happening back in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
So they had a leg up on that.
Right. And they're blessed with having, good volunteers to be head coach, at St. Charles right now. And Mike Eddy doesn't have a kid in the program, hasn't had a kid in the program in quite some time.
Howard Mossing before him.
Mossing, yes. McKinney. I mean, Coach Alter. Go back in the days. That's how you build it, is that continuity. Like to see a little bit more high school, out there on the field sometimes on a Saturday, whether it be Lures or Dwenger, but, nitpicking. But, even with the fit football program now in 3rd and 4th grade, Lures and Dwenger are going to benefit. Everybody Dwenger a little bit down this year. Just not enough weapons on offense, but they got a special defense. Don't let that 30-some points that they gave up to Carroll fool you. Their defense was
saying Dwenger was the more physical team, even though they lost that game.
Well, we saw them against Northside, and I don't remember the last time I saw a Dwenger defense fly around the football like that. But when you're a small school, you get locked in with the kids that you can get. It's just the way it is. But yeah, that the youth programs are so important, especially in the rural cities that don't have multiple middle schools coming to them. It is very important for them to build that culture at that 3rd grade level and to make their high school cool, for a lack of a better word, make it cool, have that drip level, for your kids. It's, you want them to wear the black and the purple if you're at Leo. You want them to be excited about putting that on there. Just like how I know my son was excited to put the gold Saints helmet on in his freshman year. You know, there's something, if you start them early enough, they're going to really gravitate to that, and that's only going to raise your program.
No, 100%. It just makes you wonder, like, how much longer New Haven goes without that. You know,
Yeah.
New Haven community is the next community to blow up in this area. They're already talking about adding the new complex with the soccer fields and baseball and all that stuff. And there's only so much space in Huntertown area as they're putting up neighborhoods. I believe that there's going to be a little bit of a boom out east in the New Haven area.
Yeah, I mean they're popping additions out there as well, down Green over in Minnick and closer to 469 out there towards Paulding Road on the south side of New Haven. I mean, there are more people moving in to New Haven, and you know, we've been to many football games at New Haven, many basketball games at New Haven. It doesn't matter what their record is at that time. It does not matter to the fans. They come out and they support no matter what. They're loud. You know, I absolutely love that. But you're right. There's a missing piece there that could, I think, eventually elevate the program. Like what Coach Doerffler said, it's no accident that Leo started to become competitive and then good once Coach Rohrbacher started that. Cub football. I think he said it was in 1999. So, you know, once that starts happening and those kids from 99 that are in third grade, you know, by the time it's, you know, I'm horrible at math, but let's say 2004.
8 years.
Yeah. You know, now you're starting to win ball games. You start going from 2-8, 3-7, now 6-4, a 4-6, you know, 6-4, 8. I mean, look, I mean, proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the pudding, Jeff.
Then you're winning a regional and going to semi.
Right. In 2010, you went 12-2.
And then you do it back-to-back years.
Right. That is not an accident.
Not even close.
That is not a coincidence. That is as real as it gets right there. You're seeing it live on paper.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, like you said, Tim, Dwenger offense a little bit down right now. And one of their main feeders has had numbers that have gone down. So
Correct.
Not only is it important to establish it, but to maintain it, to keep it fresh, to keep it new with the times, so that the kids are having fun and they want to come out and play. So no, I agree with you, Tim. Going to be a great one tomorrow night at Leo Field. Make sure to get out there early.
I know you will.
I'll definitely be out there early as long as I can. Everything goes well with the spacemen. So
knock on wood.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for joining us. We had Coach Jason Doerffler doing a great job over there at Leo. He's in his 3rd season. So got the Lions off the hump, if you will. See, this 2011 was your last sectional championship before the 2023 one. Which is crazy to think because of all the great teams that Leo's had. But look at that. That's Northridge in a sectional game.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one to come out of. There's no doubt. Even when it was before the newer sectional 19, it was still extremely tough.
But
I mean, when you look at those,
silly.
And a lot of these teams for Leo, Jeff, they're playing them throughout the season. They're in their conference. East Noble, DeKalb, Columbia City, New Haven. They're all Northeast State schools. And then you then you got the pedigree of Bishop Dwenger and the great coaching. You know they're ready. Southside's only going to get better under Coach Goodwell as long as he can keep those kids motivated, and I believe he will. And Wayne is always dangerous. You never know where they're going to come from. Wayne always has players out there on the southeast side of town. So, you know, this sectional 19 is a gauntlet.
Yeah, and Wayne is supposed to be getting Jacob Sharon back this week, which would be huge.
Another top level wide receiver and playmaker that would be over there for Coach Haydock.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't suffer that injury late his sophomore year. I don't know that he's fully healed back. He's still a great player, but you know, little things like that. And you can say that about a number of athletes throughout
Sure.
the year, or throughout the years. Yeah, great sectional 19. We've been saying it for the longest time, and now it's even stronger because you have more area teams like a Columbia City and a Wayne in here. So
That's
holy
insane.
cow. Well, Tim,
Yeah.
we'll see you tomorrow on the call. East Noble at Leo. Folks, make sure to get out to the stadium. If you can't, please join us online live on summitcitysports.com. So on behalf of Tim Atkinson, we had Jason Doerffler. Have a great night, everybody, and we will see you in Leo tomorrow night. Thanks for
Night,
joining us.
everybody.